Hey, Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting and BestPodcastingGear.com, taking a look at the Sound Devices MixPre. This thing is really cool. The first thing I want to show you is just how small this is. So here's the unit, and here is my iPhone. This is an iPhone 6, so not really a whole lot bigger than that, and you can see it's fairly thin. And what it is you have one input here on this side, and you've also got a auxiliary or mic in on there. So if I want to put like my iPad in there, I could do that. Got my headphone jack and a little knob here to turn that up. And on the other side, I've got a spot for 2 more XLR inputs, thus 3 inputs, 4 if you count the auxiliary in. And this is getting powered right now by USB-C. The only thing that's kind of a character flaw is they have the on-off switch right here. And that sometimes is a little bit of a pain in the butt. Not a big deal. The SD card is actually, if I pull this off, right behind the battery pack. And you might think, wow, that's really inconvenient. And it's just not, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. One of the things I love about it, I have a Zoom H5. And the H5 has darker text on a gray background. And at times, if it's not right up in front of you, it's a little hard to read. This is not, and it's a touch screen, and I've got to kind of do this over my own shoulder here. When I touch this here, you'll see, oh, everything's backwards. Left is right. You can see here where it's changing. Let me back up a bit. I can tap it again. Down here, it shows how much time I have left on my SD card, things of that nature. So you can see there's that. If I tap it again, there's the mix, and you can actually go in. If I push on this right here, I'm actually right now in channel 1. So if I press this, this is now, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to see that. I can't adjust. This is just a webcam. But on there, I have a spot down here for the gain. If I'm going to record it, I have an arm button there and a pan. And I can also solo it. And it's really easy up here. I can actually push this button and it switches. And now if I want to name this channel, I could. And I'll show you a neat little trick about typing in names. And what's great about this, what makes this different than something like a Zoom H5 is, yes, I can plug in 4 different inputs here. I can assign which input with that little knob I just pushed there a minute ago. I could say, look, make channel 1 use the line in. Make channel 2 come from audio from my computer via USB. Make channel 3 the microphone I'm using here. And then I can go in and mix all these, set the volumes, set the pan if I wanted to. So it's like a built-in little mixer in a pocket-sized unit, and this is actually really sturdy. It's kind of made for people that want to do video. You'll see there's a spot here on the bottom to mount a camera here, and also one on the top. So you could easily put this on a mount and then put your camera on top of it. And I think this is where Sound Devices kind of comes from a video world, and they're getting now. They've always made great equipment in general. And this is kind of the first one that could kind of apply to podcasting. So you can power this via battery. There's also an optional kind of backpack that you can put on this. So if you don't want to do the AA battery, and like I say, USB-C. For those people that are doing video, you've got a couple different things here in terms of syncing. If I can get my eyes to work here, I want to say it's a Midi Sync. Here it is, HDMI TCN. And that's where you can synchronize with video. I'm not a video guy, so I'm not that up on that. I have just seen it work when I was involved in a documentary. So it's really cool, and it's very easy to route what things are going to. The one thing I want to point out about this, and it kind of threw me for a loop, is I was doing a mix minus with this, and I was going through all the different channels and settings and such, and I was trying to find where do I set it to not send the computer back to the computer. I didn't want to create a feedback loop. I wanted to do what's called a mix minus. And to make a long story short, it does it automatically. I wish it said that in the manual. It's because I spent a long time trying to figure out before I did a Skype call. Another great feature of this is you can have presets. So if one show you have 2 XLRs in and 1 auxiliary in, and one person has this mic, boom, preset. Now you're going to do something else, boom, preset. Really, really easy. And they have all sorts of projects. That's what they call those. Projects is how you want to organize your folders. Again, there's a function here for your SD card. In terms of recording, you can do, 48 kilohertz, 44.1, however you want to set that up. And what's cool about that is it'll actually synchronize to your computer. Now, to do that, if you change the computer, you need to turn this off and turn it back on for it to synchronize with the computer. That is something I found out. But super easy. It's really, if I go to the system, one of the things that's really cool is they have a basic mode for setting this up, and that, if you just want to plug and play, perfect. If you actually want to go in and do what's called gain staging and really set that, you can set this up to kind of a more advanced mode, or you can go in and actually set up what is advanced and what's basic. That was pretty slick. You can actually there are built-in limiters, which are okay, but if you don't want those, you want to just do your own, you can turn those off. There is you can set the brightness of it. There is the ability to update the firmware on this, which is nice. And what's nice about this is if you go into this one section, and it is called file transfer. This is the part I was talking about. And this is where, if you're going, okay, I want to get the files off this, I have to take the battery off, get the SD card out. No. I don't know if it's because it's USB-C or what, but I'm going to go ahead and put this on file transfer, and I'm going to switch to a different unit, because when you do file transfer, this no longer works, I believe, as a USB interface, which is what I'm using right now to get this audio in. And so let me show you just how fast it is to transfer files off this. I just did a video, or I'm sorry, an interview that was about 45 minutes long, and you'll see how quick it is to transfer things off this particular unit. It's really, really fast. All right, and you can see here, when I put this into file transfer, this shows up as a hard drive, and I can double click on this, and I'm going to go into a folder from yesterday, and here is the file, and I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to throw it into the folder that I want it to be. And you'll see it's really not any slower than copying and pasting this directly from the SD card. So if you're worried about taking off the battery pack and all that, it's really, I've done other different USB devices where this seemed to be slower, but for me, I don't think this is any slower than if I was doing this directly from the SD card. It's a fairly beefy file that we are transferring, and to me, it's not, the fact that it's going this fast is really just completely wipes out any kind of complaint I might have about it not being able to quickly access the card inside. So I love the file transfer. It's super easy. And the minute I turn this back off, if I go back here to this PC and I turn this off, you will see that disappear. And now it's back to acting as a USB device. And the one thing I wanted to point out, I'm here in Hindenburg Journalist. This is what I use for podcasting. And you saw me drag and drop one file to that folder. And this is called a poly wave file. I didn't know that even such existed. But I love the fact that I don't have to keep track of 3 files. I dragged one file from the unit to my computer, and I'm going to go ahead and import this. And there's the one file. And when I click on open, now Hindenburg is going to go through, and you can see here I have 3 files, and one is a mix of the left and right. So this is, if I wanted to, I could just keep this file, and then I have this track was me and this track was my guest. So if I wanted to do any kind of separate things, I could get rid of the mixed version. I could come in here, apply EQ to each individual track. So it gives you both options, the mixed down version as well as each individual track. And you can get more intense with that, but that's what I was doing with when I was playing it. But I just love the fact that that was one single file, and when you bring it into your DAW, it separates it into 3. That I found very impressive. The last thing I wanted to show you was a free app for any smartphone, and it's called Wingman. And you can see here, I can see down here how many tracks are armed. I can swipe. And check this. Remember I said earlier you could rename something using the touchscreen. This is a much easier way to do that. If I click on this, you can see where I could easily change the name of that particular channel. Very, very cool. I love about this because it constantly shows the time. So if you make a mistake somewhere, you could easily write down and say, okay, this happened at this time. So there is no marker system. I wish there was. a marker system. That might be something they add later, but very, very cool. And the other thing I thought it would show is I was talking about how it's so versatile. And I know with this, just using a webcam here, it's a little tough to get the right setting. And I could actually go in here into the brightness setting. And let me see here if I adjust this up. Yeah, we were having a hard time getting the image there, but I can actually turn this down if I hit the button here. And this is where the headphone jack. So I can actually turn this down, and so we can see it now like that. Very, very cool. I could also adjust if I wanted to, the brightness of the actual knobs. So again, a very, very versatile unit. I like it a lot, and it's very, very cool. Now, $650 is the current price. If you're like, okay, get to the good part. And so that might seem overpriced, but if I was buying a mixer and a portable recorder, that would be, now granted, this is still probably going to be a little more depending on the mixer. The other thing I like about this particular unit is I have a Behringer mixer sitting here to the right of me, and I've tried multiple USB devices, and I always get a bit of a ground loop in it or some sort of high-pitched whine. The sound just isn't, the sound through this thing is awesome. The preamps that are in this thing are just awesome. And right now I'm driving an Electro Voice RE320. You're hearing it direct. There's no processing on this. So it's a very cool unit. And so for me, because of its build, and if you're doing something that you're doing a lot of traveling, but yet you need versatility, and an easy to see display. I actually like the display a little better than the Zoom H5. The Zoom H6 might be give it a run for its money, but for me, it's versatility, battery operated, USB, or that other kind of special battery pack that you can get. The difference between the Pre-3 and the Pre-6, the Pre-6 has obviously 6 inputs, and where these are just XLR, the Pre-6 has a combination XLR and 1/4 inch. So if you're interested in this, check the link beneath. I have links to this where you can purchase it. It's $649, and the Pre-6 is $900 and some change. So it's kind of the prosumer line for me, but I love the fact that with this little app, and again, the app is free, and all I did was turn it on. It automatically syncs via Bluetooth. It's definitely something for the person that's going to be doing a lot of traveling, or they want a mixer that's not going to take up a ton of room on their desk. I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com and bestpodcastinggear.com. Thank you for watching this video.